Some actors play tough guys, and sometimes real-life tough guys become actors. Lee Marvin was definitely the latter. Labeled incorrigible as a child, he joined the Marines at 18 and fought in World War II. He earned a medical discharge after being wounded in the Battle of Saipan and spent the next few years working odd jobs stateside. In 1946, while fixing a toilet at a New York theater, he was asked to fill in for a sick cast member, and he caught the acting bug. Here's a look at some of his most iconic films that you absolutely can't miss. Marvin's final film was a passing of the torch of sorts, pairing him with 1980s action star Chuck Norris. The Delta Force finds Marvin as the commander of America's elite military unit. Norris plays a former member of Delta who comes out of retirement to lead a rescue mission of the passengers of a hijacked airliner. Marvin was reportedly ill during the making of the film, and he died of a heart attack a year later, so he has limited screen time here. However, that Lee Marvin's signature charisma still commands the screen, and he's the only actor we could see Chuck Norris calling Sir. Any movie that offers both Lee Marvin and Clint Eastwood singing is worth seeing, and Paint Your Wagon is the only film to offer just that. Based loosely on the Broadway play, the film follows Ben Rumson, a California gold rush prospector who decides to share a wife with his prospecting partner. It's not exactly the type of story you'd see made these days, for obvious reasons, but the focus here is comedy. Marvin seems to be enjoying himself, and it's likely because he reportedly insisted that he be allowed to drink actual liquor while filming his scenes. By the late 1960s, westerns had fallen out of favor, and yet on the cusp of it all, the professionals rode the line between the grand entertainment of old Hollywood and the cynicism of American cinema at the time. Marvin teams with Burt Lancaster on a mission to rescue the wife of a Texas millionaire from a Mexican revolutionary. About halfway through, the cynicism takes over with a surprising plot twist, and the film really takes off. Originally made for television, NBC found The Killers too dark and violent for TV and instead released it theatrically, where it gained a reputation as an early example of neo-noir film. A remake of the 1946 Burt Lancaster film and based on an Ernest Hemingway story, this gritty version makes Lee's hitman Charlie Strom the protagonist, alongside his scene-stealing sidekick, as the pair try to figure out why their latest target didn't seem to care much about being killed. The two forsake their pledge to never get personally involved in a job and investigate why someone wanted their target dead. The Big Red One is reportedly one of Lee Marvin's favorite films, as the World War II veteran identified with the epic movie's exploration of the futility of war. Marvin plays a sergeant fighting across northern Africa and Europe with 4 of his best soldiers, who avoid getting to know new recruits, suspecting they will not last long on the battlefield. Marvin is every bit as tough and ornery as he was in other action films, but here, his character is tinged with regret, weary of the war and questioning the point of endless battles. The Big Heat is a severely underrated film that stars Glenn Ford as a good cop who gets caught in a web of corruption in the police force. The film is surprisingly dark, even for classic noir, and Ford is fantastic as a man driven to find the truth, who then suffers a great personal loss for it, leading him on a path of righteous vengeance. Marvin plays a brutal gangster out to stop Ford, and as it was his first big film, it hinted to the impressive screen presence he carried throughout his career. Point Blank is a simple revenge tale elevated with a trippy but cool 1960s style, a gritty urban aesthetic, and Marvin's memorable performance. He plays Walker, a man double-crossed and left for dead by his partner, John Vernon, after a heist. Angry and out for revenge, Walker works his way through the lurid Los Angeles underworld and a hierarchy of gangsters until he finds someone that will pay him the $93,000 he's owed and exact some revenge on the man who shot him. Lee Marvin only won 1 Academy Award during his career, and believe it or not, it was for Cat Ballou, an odd Western comedy. Jane Fonda stars as a schoolteacher who becomes an outlaw after her father is murdered. Marvin, however, steals the movie in dual roles, as both the bad guy, who wears a metal nose prosthetic, and a drunken gunfighter who joins Cat on her exploits. Although one could argue he really played 2 supporting roles, he was nominated for and won the Oscar for Best Actor. The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance may have been a vehicle for James Stewart and John Wayne, but as the outlaw Liberty Valance, Marvin absolutely steals the film with his performance. This isn't a traditional Western. Director John Ford and longtime collaborator John Wayne explored the cost of principle and the weight of responsibility and duty, with the film arguably marking a transition between moralistic Hollywood and the more ambiguous, darker modern era. Stewart and Wayne play perfectly off of each other, but Marvin, as the loose cannon Valance, adds an unpredictable, wild dog element that makes him the perfect foil. One could argue that he's given better performances in other films, but Marvin's role in The Dirty Dozen is his most iconic. In 1967, Marvin was at the height of his fame, and the role of Major John Reisman is tailor-made for him, as he exudes the authority necessary to wrangle the larger-than-life cast in one of the best war films of the 60s. As the leader of a group of military convicts sent on a dangerous mission ahead of the D-Day invasion of World War II, Marvin not only gets to play a tough-as-nails major, he gets more than a few laughs.